How do you identify in terms of gender identity and sexual orientation? I identify as a non-binary trans woman, and I am pansexual.
I identify as non-binary and pansexual as well. When did you first come out? I first came out to my parents when I was 6. I told them I had kissed my best friend while reenacting telenovelas. They told me not to do it again and to go to confession. I went to confession and I did it again many times.
After puberty, things just got to a point where you have a feeling that's strong enough inside of you and you just have to go with it.
Are you okay with answering some questions about your coming out experience?
Yes, I'm definitely comfortable talking about my coming out experience. Here we go.
Let's get into it.
When did you become aware of your sexual orientation and gender identity? It had always been there, so although I was aware, I battled with a lot of self-doubt.
I was very young when I became aware of my sexual orientation, but even today, it's been a self-discovery journey. Did you have to hide it from others? I definitely had to hide my femininity growing up. I grew up in Mexico, so anything like, your hand hanging too loose or you would cross your legs. It wasn't until my adulthood where I was able to let that go and just let my body do what it wanted to.
Were you afraid to come out to others? I came from a very conservative family, so I was really concerned about who was going to love me and who would remain in my life. How old were you when you first came out? I was 16 when I first came out, and it was a little bit rough, to say the least.
My public coming out was gradual. I started posting more liberal things on social media, and at first family members were like, are you still going to church? Are you on drugs? And eventually they stopped asking. And who was the first person you came out to? The first person I came out to was a really good friend of mine. I just called her on the phone because I was having a panic attack. Up until that point, I didn't realize I was pansexual. I was kind of in love with my best friend and with his girlfriend. How did your family respond to your coming out? My family was pretty supportive to my coming out for the most part. My mom and I are really good friends. My siblings are all understanding, liberal, progressive like I am. I think my dad has had a little bit of a hard time just because he's old school.
My family was all over the place when I came out. Some people were very supportive right away, and some of my siblings gave me a lot of pushback. I think it's important to not take for granted the people that do love and accept you, and to not worry too much about the people that don't. How do your friends respond to your coming out? I think of a lot of my friends as a second family, and I'm so thankful that I had friends around that did give me very concrete support.
My friends responded, finally, we all knew, but you. I guess they were waiting on me to accept myself. Somebody should have told me.
Did anyone in your life have a hard time accepting you? People accepting you is so much more about them than it is about you, and you just have to be true to yourself. That's how you find the people that you're meant to spend time with. Are they more accepting of you now? People have come around that were less accepting at the beginning. With my own siblings, I'm not sure if we will ever have back the same bond that we had. The relationship is pending.
Were there any obstacles you didn't anticipate? When I came out publicly, I was living in a house with a boy band. It was me and the manager and then 5 men. It wasn't as liberating as it should have felt because it was within an environment that was very straight. Coming out was kind of suffocating.
Does the coming out process end, or do you feel like you're still coming out? The goal is that people won't have to come out. It should matter less what your sexual orientation or what your gender identity is, and it should matter more what you're doing for the planet, what you're doing for your community, what you're doing for the people around you.
How has coming out changed you? Since I've came out, and since I've started dating Flora, I have just been more authentically myself. I feel so comfortable in my skin. I can laugh louder, I can orgasm louder, I can just punch life with more humph. And I don't feel like I'm hiding myself or pretending to be anything for anyone. What advice do you have for anyone who's struggling with coming out? Reach out to somebody who is already out and talk to them first. And don't try to define yourself so quickly. It takes years for anyone to really know who they are.
There are people out there that will accept you for who you are. You shouldn't have to edit yourself for anyone, especially the people closest to you. Somebody's gonna get you, somebody will be there for you, and if you haven't found them yet, keep looking. They're out there.